Good morning, this is Robert Marr from the Law Office of Robert J. Marr PC. I'm with you this morning to talk a little bit about some estate planning concepts, some ideas, and some pitfalls that you might face, and maybe to give you some suggestions as to how you can avoid them. The one I'd like to talk about today is some of the mistakes that people make when they name guardians for their children. Here are a few common mistakes that people will make or that come up in conversations that I have with people. One is that they name a couple to act as guardian for their children if something happens to them, single parent, or to both them and their spouse if they're a married couple. One of the pitfalls that occurs in this type of situation is that they don't say what should happen if the couple splits up. So that's one particular mistake that people make. A second potential pitfall or mistake is that a person will only name an individual as a guardian with no backup. So then the question becomes, what happens if the guardian that you named isn't available, or what if something happens to the first choice? Third, people forget and sometimes don't consider, what about financial resources? Raising children is expensive, so you have to consider some of the financial consequences of naming a couple as guardian or naming an individual as guardian, so that if somebody's caring for their children, there are financial resources available to help them. A fourth mistake, you name the beneficiaries of your will and you name the guardians for your children, but you don't include protections to ensure that the courts won't become involved in the year-to-year distributions of money and record keeping that's involved with raising children. And next, not considering who might challenge your guardianship designation, and potentially considering language in your will or in your guardianship nomination document who you want not to act as a guardian if something happens. And then finally, in the short term, what happens, people fail to consider what happens to my kids if something happens to me in the short term, like in the immediate hours after an emergency, for instance. So these are some of the pitfalls and mistakes that people make when naming guardians for their kids. None of them are challenges that, with a little conversation we can overcome. If you're considering naming guardians for your kids, or if you already have and you think you might have made some of these mistakes, that's fine. Give us a call or contact us, and we'll help you get your guardianship nominations in order so that they reflect what you want and that they most protect your kids in case something happens to you.